By the time Bumpy Johnson went to prison in 1952, he trusted one man more than anyone else in Harlem, his driver, a kid from North Carolina who had been in New York less than 6 years, and that trust would create $100 million empire and destroy it completely. But it didn't start with power. It started with hunger. Frank Lucas stepped off a Greyhound bus in January 1946 with $47 in his pocket and no plan beyond survival. He was 15 years old, running from North Carolina, where his cousin had been murdered by the Ku Klux Klan. Harlem was supposed to be different, safer, better. It wasn't. Frank slept on a mattress on the floor of a boarding house. $3 a week. Shared bathroom. 2 other Southern boys in the same room. No one would hire him. Too young. No papers. No references. So Frank did whatever he could. Loading trucks. Delivering packages. Shining shoes. Some weeks he ate. Some weeks he didn't. 2 years of surviving, but not living. And during those years, Frank didn't just struggle. He watched. He watched men in expensive suits command entire blocks without raising their voices. He watched money change hands in ways that didn't match what was being sold. And he kept hearing one name more than any other. Bumpy Johnson. December 14th, 1948. Frank was 17, delivering prescriptions for a pharmacy on Lenox Avenue. He saw it happen on 135th Street. 3 young guys confronting an older man outside a social club. The older man wore an expensive suit, stood calm, didn't look worried. "You're in our territory, old man. You want to walk these streets, you pay." The older man's response was quiet. "I don't pay anyone, and you should walk away before this becomes a problem." One of them pulled a knife. "We're not asking, we're taking. 10 seconds. Frank recognized something. Not fear, not panic, authority, and something else too. The way people on the street suddenly stopped looking. This was Bumpy Johnson, and these 3 kids were about to die. Frank ran across the street, put himself between them. "You need to leave now before you do something you can't take back." They stared at him like he was insane. "Who the hell are you? Someone trying to save your lives. Walk away." One of them moved toward Frank with the knife. Bumpy moved faster, grabbed the wrist, twisted. The knife hit the pavement. 1 punch. The guy dropped. The other 2 ran. Bumpy looked at Frank. "That was either very brave or very stupid. Probably both," Frank said. "You know who I am. Bumpy Johnson. If I'm wrong, this is embarrassing." Bumpy smiled slightly. "You're not wrong. What's your name?" "Frank Lucas. Come see me tomorrow at Small's Paradise. I might have work for you." Then Bumpy walked away, and Frank stood there, knowing his life had just changed. Frank showed up at Small's Paradise the next day wearing his best clothes. Bumpy was waiting. "Tell me about yourself." Frank told him everything. North Carolina, the Klan, coming north with nothing, 2 years of hunger. "Why'd you help me yesterday?" Bumpy asked. Frank thought, "Because 3-on-1 isn't fair, and because I've been watching Harlem. You represent something important here." Bumpy nodded slowly. "You're observant. Most people see surfaces. You see systems." Then he offered him a job, runner for his numbers operation, $20 a week, but the rules were simple: absolute honesty, absolute loyalty, absolute silence. Frank agreed. 3 weeks later, March 1949, Frank was collecting from a barbershop on 145th Street. The controller, Raymond, handed him an envelope. Frank counted it, $200 short. "This doesn't match your sheet." Raymond's face hardened. "You calling me a thief?" "I'm saying the numbers don't match." "You're new. Sometimes the count's off." Frank didn't move. "I'm not leaving until it's right." Raymond stood up. Bigger, older, reached under the counter, pulled out a revolver. "Leave now." Frank didn't flinch. "If you shoot me, Mr. Johnson will know why, and you'll have to explain where that $200 went." Silence. 10 seconds. Raymond put the gun down, pulled out $200. "You got problems, kid." "Maybe, but not today." Frank returned the money to Bumpy and told him everything. Didn't exaggerate, didn't brag, just facts. Bumpy listened, then said, "Raymond pulled a gun on you and you didn't back down?" "No, sir." "Why?" "Because letting him steal meant I wasn't doing my job." Bumpy paused, then said, "You're fired." Frank's stomach dropped. "Sir, you're fired as a runner because you're too valuable for that job. Starting tomorrow, you're my driver. Pay doubled, $50 a week. And Frank, what you did today took courage most men don't have." Later, Bumpy audited Raymond's books, found thousands missing. Raymond wasn't killed, just removed, because Bumpy believed in discipline, not chaos. And Frank had proven something deeper than loyalty. He proved integrity. Being Bumpy's driver wasn't just about driving. It was an education. Frank picked him up every morning, drove him to meetings, waited outside, listened, and Bumpy taught. "Organization is everything," Bumpy said one day. "Most people think collecting money is business. It's not. Systems are business." Another day. "You think power comes from fear. It doesn't. Fear is fragile. Loyalty lasts." Another. "Violence creates problems. Every problem creates police. Police create prisons. Smart men minimize violence." Frank absorbed everything. Watched how Bumpy negotiated, watched how he dealt with Italian families, watched how he solved conflicts without bloodshed, and Frank realized something. Bumpy wasn't powerful because he was the toughest. He was powerful because he was the smartest. Then, April 1950, late night, driving back from the Bronx, Frank noticed headlights behind them. Too close, not normal. "Mr. Johnson, I think we have a problem." Two cars boxed them in. Gun barrels came out windows. "Get down," Frank said. Bumpy hit the floor. The first shot shattered the rear window. Frank didn't panic, accelerated, hit the next exit, cut through alleyways, killed the lights, waited. The cars passed, searching, never saw them. Frank drove them home safely. Bumpy stood up slowly. "You stayed calm. Panicking doesn't help. You could have run, but you trusted me." "That's loyalty," Bumpy said. "Real loyalty." From that night forward, Bumpy trusted Frank with everything. August 1951, Bumpy called Frank to his office. "I need you to do something dangerous. If you get caught, you'll go to prison for decades. If you get robbed, you'll lose money that took me years to accumulate. If you get killed, well, you'll be dead." "You can say no," Frank asked. "What is it?" "I need you to drive $10 million cash from Harlem to Philadelphia. By yourself. No security. No backup." Frank felt his heart race. "Why me?" "Because I trust you more than anyone alive. You proved that when you didn't abandon me in that ambush. You proved it every day since." Frank didn't hesitate. "When do I leave?" The next morning, Bumpy walked him to a normal Chevrolet. The trunk was full of metal cases. Locked. Heavy. $10 million is in there. Don't open it. Don't stop unless necessary. Don't speed. Drive boring. And Frank, if someone tries to rob you, give it up. Money can be replaced. You can't. Frank drove 3 hours. Normal speed. Right lane. Like any commuter. Delivered the cases to an address in South Philadelphia, Italian territory. Got a receipt. Drove back. No stops. No problems. No police. No robbery. That night he handed Bumpy the receipt. Bumpy looked at it, then looked at Frank. "You just proved I can trust you with anything. Literally anything. Most men would have disappeared. New name, new life. You didn't. That loyalty is worth more than $10 million. From that moment, Frank wasn't just a driver. He was family. June 1952. Frank drove Bumpy to Little Italy, meeting with the Genovese family. Sensitive territory, negotiations for expansion. Frank waited in the car. 2 hours later, Bumpy came out. "They agreed to let me expand," Bumpy said. "Cost me 15% of grow. I offered 10. They wanted 20, Frank asked. "Did you lose?" "No, I bought peace. Peace is cheaper than war." Frank learned something powerful that day, but years later, he'd forget it. November 1952, someone close to Bumpy flipped. Federal agents came with evidence, detailed testimony, unbeatable case. They arrested Bumpy at his home. Frank posted bail immediately, but the trial was a formality. Before sentencing, Bumpy called his people together. Then he spoke to Frank. "You'll manage Upper Harlem. Report finances. You've earned autonomy. You saved my life. You moved 10 million without blinking. I trust you completely. But remember what I taught you. Stay invisible. Attention brings enemies. Enemies bring prison. Prison ends empires." Frank promised. I won't let you down. The jury convicted Bumpy, 15 years of federal prison before transfer. Frank visited him. I'll protect everything. When you get out, it'll be exactly how you left it. Bumpy looked at him, almost sadly. Just remember what I taught you, especially about staying quiet. The moment you become visible, you become a target. Frank nodded. But history tells us he didn't listen. Frank Lucas would go on to build one of the biggest heroin empires in American history, but he wouldn't follow Bumpy's rules. He'd chase visibility, power, status, and eventually that same spotlight would destroy him. But before all that, before the drugs, before the empire, before the downfall, there was just a hungry kid, a Harlem kingpin, and a trunk full of money. That was never stolen. That's loyalty. That's trust. That's how legends are built and how they're broken. This is Bumpy Johnson, Decoding Dark History. And if you want the next chapter, Frank Lucas's rise and how he betrayed everything Bumpy taught him, make sure you subscribe, because the darkest stories are always the real ones.